Time for what?
Time for what?
Experience in college.
Time for reinforcement.
Time for liftoff!
Welcome to College for All, where nothing is impossible unless you think it is impossible.
College.
My college scholarship.
Yes. Ball.
College ran by real fast.
You hung in with the best college.
Touchdown!
First time for everything.
Well, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Let's do this thing.
Genius, let's do this thing!
Welcome, everyone, to the show. Here we are again. We have in our midst, and we've had for a while in our journey, Isabel is back again. Hello, Isabel.
Hey, everyone.
So how is it going right now? I call it the limbo time. Some other seniors would call it the waiting game time. It's spring semester. You heard some answers from some likely schools, and then there's a big chunk in the month of March we're still waiting for. How's it going for you?
Well, I feel super nervous. I feel like these decisions cannot come out fast enough. My whole entire college decision is going to be based on what these UCs and CSUs tell me and whether or not I'm accepted into those. So it definitely makes me really nervous, and I'm filled with anticipation waiting for these decisions to come out.
So basically,
yeah, I'm screaming in my head.
But looking beautiful while you're doing it for those podcasters or listeners who don't see that. But here's a question for you, right? Like, how do you calm the voice, right? I know we didn't talk about this offline, but how do you calm that voice? Because it does feel, there is that energy because there's so many other seniors feeling that same energy too.
Well, it definitely makes it better that I've already gotten some decisions and I've already gotten accepted into a lot of schools that I applied to. And so that's definitely a nice feeling to know that I have something to fall back on if these schools that I'm really looking forward to don't accept me. In the case that they don't, I still have options. And so I always remind myself I still have options and that I'm going to be happy wherever I go. And also by focusing on school and working on my grades and making sure that I'm doing well emotionally and mentally, that just helps me take my mind off of the fact that I am waiting for these decisions and my college choice is going to depend on these.
Congratulations on your acceptance. And then, and then another congratulations for your wisdom for applying to some likely schools that you like, your family like, and that are likely. It's important to have those schools because it does give you some comfort, but I'm sure there's a lot of talk going on, whether in the house, right? You're the eldest in the family. So this is a big experience happening for your family. Both your beautiful mom and dad are first gen. So second gen's like, at school, on the streets. Tell us what are people asking you a lot or not asking you?
Well, I have gotten questions from family, from extended family, from teachers, from some people who I don't even know. People I haven't seen in 5 years are asking me, oh, how is college? What colleges have you gotten into? What scholarships are you doing? And sometimes I can't answer those questions because it's really difficult to explain exactly what I have been working on to all of these people. So it definitely does get to the point where there's a lot of questions that I'm being asked. And I'm just, I'm trying to help people in the best ways possible. So if I have fellow students asking, oh, how did you do this? Oh, are you applying to scholarships? What are these websites? And I'm always perfectly fine with helping them out. But it does get a little repetitive when I have adults constantly asking me. They're breathing behind my neck. They're just waiting for me to get these decisions. And I'm waiting just like them. I don't know if I'm going to get accepted into UC Santa Barbara or Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I don't know any more than they know. So when they constantly ask me that, it makes me nervous. It makes me very anxious and it makes me keep thinking about it all the time. I never forget that I'm waiting for these decisions because everybody's always asking.
So have you been able, and do these adults, I'm pointing out the adults, say hey, I just don't want to talk about college. I'll let you know by like by April 1st, most decisions are made unless you're applying rolling, if you got in. So have you been able to say that, or do you have something else?
Yeah, I totally do. When most people ask me, I just tell them I have gotten into a few schools that I applied to, some out of state and some in state. But for a few of the really crucial ones that I'm waiting for, I'm going to have to wait until the middle or the end of March or even the beginning of April to find out those decisions, because I have no idea when I'm going to get news back. Everyone is expecting me to know exactly the dates that I'm going to get my decision from this school. And the reality is you don't know the exact dates for most of the schools.
No, that's really, really wise. I mean, just to let you know, sometimes as college counselors get an email like, hey, tonight they're going to drop this. There was a time where they used to drop it like super late, but it was not late for West Coast kids. So we know people shouldn't ask. I mean, I literally tell people, wait till May 1st to ask where you're going, because then it's done. It doesn't matter if you get in or not. They weren't lucky to get you, but it's really important where you're going. So I know where to find you if I need to connect with you. So what would, during this limbo time, the waiting game time, whether it's another high schooler listening to this or an adult, what should they do at this time? What should we be doing?
During this time, it is crucial that you do as many scholarship applications as possible. I think that's something that I regret, is that I regret not using all of my waiting time to get those scholarships done, because now that it's past March 1st, there's a very limited amount. And I feel the pressure because I just regret not doing as much as possible. I feel like I did do some scholarships, but I could have done more. And that's kind of how I feel. But when it comes to this waiting time and like waiting for decisions, you have to remind yourself that nothing you can worry about is going to change the outcome. And they've probably already made their decision and they're just waiting to get back to you, and worrying so much about it isn't going to change whether or not you get accepted. So doing the most you can by doing scholarships and doing well in school and continuing to do the things you usually do and keep your routine strong, that is so important for me.
No, it really is. And you're right. In February, a lot of these decisions are made. So a lot of times I'll have students like, oh, I should contact them to let, I'm like, that was January. Now, what about for those people breathing down your neck? What should they be doing? The outsider folks in lives, like who, for anyone who has a senior in their life who's in high school.
Yeah. So I would just wish that those outside people who are always wondering where I'm going to go, I don't even know where I'm going to go. I'm waiting until I get all my decisions. And so being informed about this whole college process would be really helpful for those adults who don't really know that much, because everyone's expecting that everyone has this one school that they're going to get accepted into and they're going to go there and everything's going to work out perfectly. And that is not the case for so many people, including me. I have schools that I love, schools that I fell in love with, and schools that I've gotten into that I fell in love with. And then I have also schools that I really liked that I have not gotten a decision back for. And so yes, do I have schools that I prefer over others, but I still don't know where I'm going. And so when adults ask me, oh, where are you going to college in the fall? I always respond with, I'm still waiting for my decisions, because I honestly, genuinely do not know where I'm going in the fall.
You could just drop this podcast and like, here, why don't you listen to this first and then come talk to me, right?
Smart.
Right. Yeah, that's the answer to everything. Yes. Subscribe, and listen. So you're absolutely right. A million things could happen, right? Someone puts an idea, you talk to an alum that either turns you on, turn you off. But also the key thing that happens besides, colleges saying no, thank you, or you're on the wait list, is those financial aid letters. So you've gotten a couple of financial aid letters. Can you talk about your experience reading them? How is that? Because I think people assume like, okay, if I could conquer this college application stuff that's so complex, I could conquer anything. What has been your experiences just reading all the different ones and understanding them?
Yeah, so I have had a pretty complicated experience, if I could say that. The first one that I read was extremely hard to understand. And they even asked me for my admission year, which I didn't know because 2024 wasn't an option. 2023 was an option. There were all these lists of years and I had to go back in my emails to search and figure out what it was. And when I eventually figured it out and I got my financial aid decision, it did not add up to what I expected it to be after for the few like wooey tuition that I received, it definitely didn't add up to be what I was expecting. And it makes me a little nervous because this was a school that I was expecting to be able to afford. And when I saw the numbers, I was a little bit nervous. I was like, wait, that's not what they told me when we calculated this online.
No, and so for those listeners who don't follow us religiously, how can they not, Isabel? How can they not? WUI is the Western Undergraduate Exchange. So if you're from a nearby West Coast, out-of-state campus, they will give you in-state tuition, and everyone is different. And so here's the thing is, if there's ever a question about financial aid, because everyone does, like, what does this mean? Call financial aid right away. Don't email, just pick up the phone and do that. And here's the beautiful thing. It's okay for your parent and guardian or your, if it's a college counselor or a counselor that's helping you, probably not, because they're going to need you in the room because it's confidential information. I mean, we are talking about money, people. So keep that in mind to call them. Don't assume, oh, it'll all work out. Talk to anyone who deals with a lot of money. It doesn't always work out. That's why there's bankruptcy and all this other stuff. The second thing is, if you are reading it right and you're like, are you kidding me? Immediately appeal, right? What that means, like, hey, you say we could do this, we need that. Whether it's public and private, and you'll get a lot of different answers. Like for some schools will say, we don't deal with appeals until after May 1st. Like, wait a minute, I have to pick a school first. Yes, I'm not kidding you. Some schools go, hey, that's the best that we could do. Hardly, I've never seen, in all my 3 decades, I've only seen one time a school said, oh, we're changing your financial aid offer to be worse, because the student neglected to mention some things, like, oops. But don't be in this fog. And then also, don't be stubborn. And yes, Isabel, I'm talking to beautiful people like you and other ones. I called a private school with the financial aid wasn't good enough. And 2 things happened. It was 2 different schools. One of them, like, I know they have money. And I mean, the college. And I literally called the school like, hey, what happened? Like, you guys have usually been really generous. Is this family that has some need? No, not high needs, but has needs. They go, and they said the financial appeal, which is basically explain why this isn't enough. I mean, just, it's not a love story. It's just here, boom, boom. Well, the parent says, oh, that's not one of the kids' top choices. Okay. Not top. Okay, it's a choice though, and it's a best pro that may give more money. Remember, money's an issue for this family. Then they have another school that if I didn't reach out to the kid, she just said, oh, this is my first choice, but the money's not there. And I go, well, did you appeal? Remember, it's the same kid. Oh, I didn't know. And I'm like, literally every day, did you appeal? Did you send it? You got to go. Don't wait. So literally every school has a bucket of money. So basically, Isabel, if someone has a question, what should they do tomorrow?
They should call the financial aid immediately.
And find out what the process is. No hesitation, no assumption, because that does make a big impact. So now, how are you finding out your acceptance letters or possible denials or wait lists? Like, how are you finding out all your admission decisions?
So yes, I have gotten plenty of emails from all of the schools that I've applied to, and they're all asking me to log into my portal. And so as soon as I get the email, I will go on my computer and I will put in my information. They give you a username and you come up with a password, I'm pretty sure, and you log into those student portals for each school. And that's where your admissions decision will go if it does not go to your email first. So I'm constantly checking my portals and seeing if there's anything there. And, that's what you do.
Yeah. So I tell everyone in Porto, I think there's one school that you have to double check on. So do that while I tell our listeners. So yes, a Porto, after you apply to school, there is a checklist of like, hey, did you submit your transcript, your letter of recommendations, or anything missing financially? So that's something you always want to check in once a week. And what school are you checking on right now, Isabel?
Right now, I am checking on Cal Poly Pomona.
Ooh, drum roll, please.
And
we're finding this out live now.
I got accepted.
Woo! Congratulations, Isabel. You got accepted to Cal Poly Pomona in California. Woo!
That is so
How does it
awesome.
feel?
It's so nice to hear. It's awesome. I always feel great after getting accepted. It gives me a little bit more hope about those schools that I'm still waiting on. Like, oh, maybe they're going to come out soon. Maybe I'll get accepted. And it definitely feels great to have options, because once it's time to make the decision, I will feel like I'm not pressured to go to any certain school, and I'm going to have options, and I'm